Well, look who's back. So I just want to say first and foremost, happy Mother's Day to my mother. She is no longer with us, but I still buy her a Mother's Day card and birthday cards every year so that when I'm gone, no time soon, my daughters can open those cards and reflect on the person who I felt she was, not to compare, but just so they can see how much I truly and dearly loved her for everything she has done for me. She was a mother who was confident, strong. Even though she was short in stature, she was big in heart. The communication line was always open, and she taught me right from wrong and showed me faith from the very beginning. So the only real piece of advice I'm going to give is to stay present in your children's life, show up for them, give them plenty hugs and kisses, and tell them that you love them and that you're proud of them. And remember, no matter what you do, they always gonna find something that they felt wasn't right. Don't take it personal. Take it as good constructive criticism. So let's get into it. Happy Mother's Day to you, and to the new mothers. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. And first and foremost, get you some sleep because you're going to need it. After 27 years, I feel like I've finally caught up on all my sleep, and I feel good and comfortable. So, like I said, I'm not going to really give you advice, but I'm going to let you know what seemed to have worked out for me. When they were young, I don't really remember the infant years, but I love the toddler years. And they, soon as they knew their colors, they were separating their clothes. They was able to get up. I put them on an alarm clock. They would get up on their own, turn their alarm clock off, so that when it was time to go to school, they would know we got to get up and we got to get ready. So that's something you might want to try. When they learn their colors, they can separate the laundry, and as they get older, you can teach them how to put the laundry in. The first 5 years I was a single mother, I did have the help of my family, and the father, he was involved, but he lived 45 minutes away, and I was focused on my kids. I wasn't going to be taking them back and forth and back and forth. So like I said, you stay present. Your life is over, and you need to dedicate your life for the next 18 years to them children. Now, I might be sitting on this bench alone today for Mother's Day, but I don't mind because they have thrived in life. They have surpassed me tenfold. As you see, I'm a Sac State mom. I'm a UC Davis mom, and they have made me so proud. So what I've done has taken hold, and they are flourishing. We used to walk around, and you always seen pennies on the street. I would tell them, pick that penny up and save it for your retirement. They didn't know what retirement was, but they did it. I would call one of them, you can't take it with you, and the other one was money bags. Because one would spend as soon as she got it, the other she would save. And she's still saving, and the other one is still spending, but she knows the concept of money and keeping her credit good and all that. So like I stated in some of my other past videos, it was a long road through pregnancy to get them here. I was pregnant with twins after being told I should not ever get pregnant. God blessed me with twins. They're fraternal, so they are two separate personalities. So he knew what he was doing, and he got jokes because I always thought I was going to have boys. But let's get into it. I gave you the advice. Now I'm just going to let you know what I did that has seemed to work out for me. So I had to run them like a drill sergeant. They told me as they got older, I was too hard on them, and I apologize for that. I apologize for all the mistakes they said I made, because that is their lived experience. I can't go against what they felt I had done, but they know it was done out of love. And when you do that and they come back to you and they say, Mom, I'm so glad that you sheltered us, because sometimes when I go out in these streets and I see how some of these girls is acting, I'm just so proud you took the time with us. I put them in dual immersion, Spanish and English, from K through 5. They didn't even know that their teachers knew how to speak English until 3rd grade. So we also together learned Spanish in the beginning. I lost mine because I didn't stick with it. But now they are bilingual in Spanish, and obviously they know how to speak English. I had the opportunity to take the package at my job when they started kindergarten, so I was able to spend a lot of time with them in the classroom and on field trips, and those early stages matter. One of them, well, they both were so small that they were measured in ounces, not even in pounds. And one of them was so small she had to go to a what do you call it, cognitive development early in life. As she grew up older, I did notice that she would do things a little bit slower than her sister, but I didn't compare her. I let her do things on her own time, because I also saw that she thought a little different. When she was in high school, it was a little late, I guess, but she was diagnosed with ADHD and all that and depression. But I was fortunate enough that I had the resources that I can take her to counseling and therapy. And there was a moment where she felt like she did not want to be on this earth. And that broke my heart. But it also made me so, so proud. And I was able to see her strength just for the simple fact that she spoke up and said how she was doing. So I might be jumping around a little bit, but that's okay. I had to run them like a drill team, like I said, because there's two of them, and I couldn't let them run over me. So the first time I took them to the park, we sat in the car and we had a conversation. I never baby talk to them. I talk to them like people. And I told them, I said, you see that park over there? They said, yes. I said, y'all want to go to the park? They said, yes. I said, okay, we can go to the park. I said, but when I say it's time to leave, I don't want nobody running off. I don't want nobody falling out. I just want us to walk back to the car and go home. And if that doesn't happen, we will never come back to the park again. And they understood that because, like I said, I never baby talk to them. I did the same thing with McDonald's. We drove past a McDonald's. I said, you see that McDonald's? I said, if y'all want McDonald's, don't ever ask for it. When it's time for McDonald's, I will give you McDonald's. Now, I'm an active person in my own right, so we would be out in these streets, let me tell you, everywhere. I had a bicycle. I would put that cart on the back, and we'd be out at festivals everywhere. As they got older and they were able to walk better, I got a nice little wagon where I can put them in and pull them around, and had a license plate on it, just us girls. So they learned early how to be outside and how to know how to manage and stick together and stay close. Just like when I grew up, they was on roller skates at 3 years old. When I got them a bicycle with training wheels, I think I let them ride with the training wheels for 2 weeks. And I told them, okay, now we're going to take these training wheels off. And if you want to ride your bike, you're going to have to learn how to balance. So they learned how to balance quick, fast, and in a hurry. And then I got them a big bike at 5 years old, and they was riding like champs. As I stated, one, was fast to move through life, and the other one, she took about 3 months, which was on par with the birth because they were 2.5 months early. They were born on their grandmother's birthday, my mom, on their uncle's birthday, my brother, and their biological father's birthday. So that's wild to me. But one started walking at almost 9 months, and the other one started walking a year and a month after. So don't push them. Let them develop at their own pace, but make sure you're there to help them develop. We went to the libraries a lot. One didn't take to reading. The other one, she's still a big reader. But here's the kicker. When you let them develop at their own pace, they will do it. Yesterday, I just came from my baby girl. She got released. She's in Zeta Phi Beta, and I'm so proud of her. I used to tell her, stop letting the other one speak for you, because when you get older, you're going to want to say something and ain't nobody going to listen to you. So I was so proud. She was so vocal, and I could see her stepping into her own year after year after year. The elementary school years were a little difficult for them because, like I said, one would get compared to the other one. How come you not doing this like her? How come you not doing that like her? But like I said, I stayed present. I pop up at school not only to see how they're acting in class, but to see what's going on with the teachers. I know it's a bit different now where, you got to check in at the office and all that. I mean, they had that back then, but I didn't care. I go straight to the classroom and pop in because that's when you see what's really going on. It was a struggle. I don't know how we would have done it if I would have had to go through COVID with it, because I had to put in extra time and I had to explain to her, I understand your sister, she picks things up quick, but in your case, you're going to have to do more studying, more preparation, more asking questions in class. Don't just be sitting there not getting stuff. You got to learn to advocate for yourself. There was a situation in, I believe, 4th grade where there was a teacher who let out that he was only at the school because he couldn't get a job up in the peninsula. And when I found that out, I used to pop in class more often. The kids was damn near hanging from the light fixtures and doing backflips from the desk. And I went to the office and I said, I want my daughter out of that class because, number one, if this is a dual immersion and they supposed to be doing the same homework, how come one is bringing home homework and the other one is not? One is bringing home a different homework, not associated with the lesson plan. So I told them, I want them out of there. And they're like, Miss Harris, we can't do that because your other daughter's in there. I said, I don't care. I want her out of there by the end of the week. And that happened. So make sure you advocating too for your child. Stay in the school. Stay in there. Don't just send your kids to school and not participate. It broke my heart that I be at these PTA meetings and all these events that they had, and there would be no other like black women dads there. And then you wonder why your kids ain't doing nothing. It is up to us, the parents, to make sure that our children thrive. And year by year, the school system is getting wrecked, so it's more important than ever. Hell, you might even want to try homeschooling, but that's a decision for you to make. When they got in middle school, that's when I could really see their personalities thriving. The one, she had too much of me in her. I got called to the school a couple times. One time she told one of the math teachers, you don't know how to teach math. And he called me in and I went in and I let him know I know exactly who my daughter is. And I know she can be vocal sometimes. I said, don't worry about it. I'll handle it. And then another time, the same child, she threw they was doing board games and she threw the board game back on the table. And then the principal gonna call me into the office talking about, well, this has been a constant problem. This is the teacher. She talking about she been a constant problem and I keep talking to her and whoop-de-whoop. And this time I'm going to suspend her. And when I do suspend her, she's not going to be able to go to the 8th grade graduation party and Great America and this and that and the other. And so it was myself in there, the black teacher, female, and the white principal. And as soon as that white principal left the room, I said, listen here, sister. I said, do you have children? I said, now you know better than to be telling me my daughter been doing all this and you haven't called me out once. I said, so this is how we gonna do this. I said, you can suspend her, but she ain't missing out on the activities just because you now trying to punish her because maybe she embarrassed you in class. Because you ain't for 1 second called me and told me my daughter been acting up. I said, so when that principal come back, you can go ahead and tell her that you fine with her getting suspended, but you don't want her missing out on the graduation activities, because I don't play that. I know who my children are, and they know who I am, and I tell them, you go to class and you don't be acting up. You listen, you respect the elders, and if anything happens, you come to me and I'll deal with it. Just like I had to deal with somebody in the church who used to antagonize me, and I noticed she was antagonizing my little girl, and I told her straight to her face, if you got anything you need to say to my children, you say it to me, period. Because like I said, she used to antagonize me, and I never spoke up. But they knew to speak up, and I would handle stuff. Sometimes they knew so much that they wouldn't, because they knew I would be up in there. So they made it through, the little elementary years, although it was a lot of comparison. One year, my reader, she read the most books in the whole school. And here come the damn kids. How come you don't read like your sister? How come you didn't read a lot of books? Blah, 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 blah. And that's when I told her, don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. You're going to be all right. You don't have to read like your sister. You don't have to be like your sister. They thrived in sports because, we both were athletes. We did softball. He was a wrestler. I did flag football. I was always a good runner. I used to play in the streets with the boys, football and everything. So, they had the athletic ability. One does have a little heart condition. She had heart surgery at 2 years old, but she pulled through with prayers and support. They always got support. So that's what I'm saying. You got to stay present. You definitely got to stay prayed up. And when we got to high school, I let them know ain't gonna be no cutting class. I used to drive them to school mostly their whole career in school. But now that they were a little bit closer to school, I was able to let them walk. And they knew what their schedule was. When that alarm clock go off, because they already been conditioned to know what that meant. They would get up, they would get their breakfast in, and they would go to school. So I just had to focus on getting myself ready. I did their hair when they were younger, but as they got older, their uncle, he felt like, that's something he wanted to take on. So their hair was always done in braids, interlocks, or, whatever they wanted. However they wanted their hair, their uncle would do it for them. So that's what I appreciated, and that's kind of how your family can support you in different ways. And when I got married and we moved into the home, this was when they were starting kindergarten. We moved in, me and my husband, he had a daughter. So we kind of, navigated that together. She would come with us on the weekends, and then I had mine. We would go out, take him to all kinds of different events. He was kind of cultured, so he would take us out to nice restaurants and stuff. So we was able to teach him how you eat and act appropriately in a restaurant. You're not going to be grabbing and running around the restaurant and licking the damn window like you see some of these kids out here doing. And that helped them develop into women that I know today. So once they got to high school, they kind of had the same friends, but I didn't know they had made a pact in like junior high where they said, okay, if I find a friend first, you can't be their friend, which that's on them. They can do whatever they want. That's their little twin pact. They had their little twin communication and all that. And the funniest thing, I remember one time they were like 3 years old, and I was bringing them home from the babysitter, and they got out the car. One slapped one, and the other one slapped their back, and they walked in the house, and that was the end of that. I was like, that's so weird. What are they doing? So one of them, twin A, she talked late in life, but I remember me and my brother, we took him to the Universal Soul Circus, and that's when I should have known that she had HDHD. What is it? ADHD, because she hadn't spoke a word, and when that damn music went off and all that drumming and all that noise, she said a full sentence. She said, "I want to go home." And I was like, oh, she's speaking. So that should have been my first indication that, not that something was wrong with her, but overstimulation was going to be a problem for her. But like I said, I didn't know at the time. We would go to concerts, and let me tell you, they saw some big old acts. Big acts. Ohio Players, Frankie Beverly and Mays, like big time acts. I had him in gymnastics. I kept him busy. I had him in gymnastics. Well, we tried out baseball, but they didn't really take to that. As they got older in junior high, they did track and field, they did volleyball, they did basketball. One of my girls, she was on the basketball team, and now her name is on the wall at the junior high school because she got the most points out of all the kids for that season. So she's on the wall, dedicated, decorated. I love that. And then they did cheerleading with the little Pop Warner. But, something pissed me off. So I told them, wait till you get to high school. And if you still want to cheer, I'll allow it. So twin A, she's like an elephant. She don't forget nothing. It was almost like the first day. She was like, okay, we in high school now. You going to let me join the cheerleading team? So I allowed it. It's something to keep them busy. And then my other twin B, she wanted to be on the basketball team, but they was having us go through so many hoops because of her heart condition, which she passed all the tests from the doctor. The doctor released her, but because I think she was so good, the little coach didn't allow her to be on the team, because now you got the player, and she was better than her child. But we didn't let that stop us. So she continued to read. They thrived. They would get bullied, but the other one, twin B, would definitely protect twin A, and twin A, she would protect twin B. I remember there was this one time they must have been about 6 years old, and we was at one of my mom's friends' events, and all the kids were on the back. And come to find out, one of the kids, a little boy, was picking on twin B. And twin A, she was still like the little silent type. She didn't say much, but her presence speaks volumes. And she slapped the shit out of that little boy. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And someone said, well, he hit twin B, and so twin A handled it. And I was like, well, ain't nothing I can do about that. They stick together. They closer than close. They tell each other something before they tell me, and I don't mind. I do not get in between their relationship. And I keep telling them, like, no matter what, you stick together. You don't backstab your sister. If she with a guy, you don't be trying to get with him and this and that and the other. Although we did have a situation, I think it was in 6th grade, where I had found a letter where twin A was talking about to some boy, I don't like you, but you can like my sister. I was like, no, we're not having that. So the communication was always open. I was always teaching them. I taught them about the birds and the bees early. I showed them books early about the diseases, even though they didn't quite understand. And you got to feed it to them at their level. Every year we would step it up, different levels. But it was the same, lessons over and over again, just at the stages where they can understand it more and more. So when they got into high school, and I told him, I said, you see Magic Johnson right there? Not to be cruel about it. I said, he's a good-looking man and he's rich. And I said, he also got HIV AIDS. I said, so when you start out here dealing with these men, know that the outside perception is not what's going to tell you what's going on the inside. So if you do want to be sexually active with someone, you need to ask some questions. But first and foremost, you don't need to be out here being loose and having a whole lot of baggage. So you just really don't want to, participate and get down like that. High school came along and, they were good kids. Twin B, she was ready to get her license. And because I didn't want her getting in the car with no other kid, drinking and driving, you hear all the stories. They out there drinking and driving and speeding, and now they in a car accident and kids are dead all over the street. So I told her, I don't have no problem getting you a car. I said, but here's how it's going to go. You going to pay every single payment of that car. I'll put you on my insurance. I don't want you running the streets with it. You take it to school. You take your sister to school. And you come home. I might occasionally send you on some errands. I said, but this might be your car, but it's registered in our name. And you're on our insurance. I said, but if you want it, you can have it. But you gonna work for it. And she started working at 16. And she paid that car off. And do you know, she just 2 weeks ago got rid of that car. And she got her a brand new car. I can't say what she got because I think it's under wraps still. But I'm so proud of both of them. Yeah, I used to have to go to the school, because like I said, I just pop up and I see what's going on. So, I had to go to the school because I found out one of the boys was bullying her. So I set up a meeting with the principal and the boy. And I told him, I said, listen here, you need to stop messing with my daughter. She not messing with you. If you like her, you need to use your words and communicate that. If you don't, you leave her alone. I'm not afraid to face anybody over my children. They had a nice, thriving high school experience. They joined the BSU. They was going to parties, which that's something I really didn't do. I didn't like go to parties at the school and dances, and I didn't join no clubs. I knew a lot of people and I socialized a lot, but I had my main friends that I hung out with and we did a lot of things, but I really didn't go to the school parties and all the little social events, but they did that. Like I said, one was doing cheerleading until she had her, got to her mental breaking point. Then I just had to pull her out so she can focus on herself and her rest of her education. And it worked out for the best. So definitely stay present. Stay up at that school. Talk to your kids like they adults. Not really adults, but talk to them to where they can understand that there's no nonsense. I'm not here to play games. I even told my kids, you can write all over your walls whatever you want. If you mad at me, you could write that on your wall 1,000 times. I don't care. But what you not gonna do is disrespect me in my home. And they never did. Now, like I said in my past video, when they turned 18, because I said a lot of things I probably shouldn't have said, like when you turn 18, you can move out and you can do whatever you want to do. And then, boom, when they turn 18, that's when they really said, Mom, you know, some of the stuff that you did and said, we didn't like it, and whoop-de-whoop, I'm moving out. I'm moving in with this boy who was actually a man. And I was like, nah, this is too much for me to handle. So I had to do my own inner work. And because of that, I'm a much better mother. And now I can see where I did make some mistakes, and I own up to that. That's why I say no matter what you do, they still gonna find fault in you. I thought I was doing, you know, a pretty good job taking them out, showing them life, and doing this and doing that. But they felt that I didn't tell them I loved them enough. I didn't hug and kiss them enough. So that's why I say make sure you do that stuff in. So now, you know, I tell them all the time that I love them, and I can't not say I'm proud of them, because they done accomplished so much in their short little lives and done dealt with so much that I can't even believe they my kids, honestly. I just really can't. They done been through so life. They lost their grandmother early. They lost their father early. They lost their godmother early. So they learned how to deal with grief early, which I think now has helped, because they lost so many friends at a young age. They went to the prom. So my twin A, she went to the prom with my best friend's son, who was also the ring bearer in my wedding, who now they are dating. They live together in Sac State. They are thriving. He said when she graduates, that's when he gonna propose to her. So we just waiting for that next year. Then who knows, maybe I'll have some grandkids. But the most important thing is to stay present. Teach them how to become people in society who can take care of themselves. They got their own money. They got their own responsibilities. And they know how to deal with adversity. You can't be out here babying your children and expect them to become productive adults in society. It's up to you to teach them, and teach them the right way, right from wrong. You know, we went to church, you know, back in the days and stuff and all that. So they got a faithful foundation like I had. And it's, you know, up to them to decide if they want to go to church still and participate in that. And I leave that up to them. But after 27 years, I have zero, and I mean zero, complaints about who they are. I know exactly who they are, and they know exactly who they are. And that's the most important thing. And for anybody that know me, they know that blackness is at the forefront of my agenda. So they also know to keep their blackness first. Be females who can be respectable. You don't want to be walking around here with no reputation on you, because that's not how you gonna help yourself in life. You know, if you want to be out here sexually active, you better know to keep it down to a minimum, because ain't no man gonna want no girl who's all washed up and used up. So I mean, I couldn't be prouder of my kids. You know, not even kids anymore, young women. And I always used to give them, every year on their birthday, I would give them a word to look up And that would be like a word that they need to use and understand for the whole year. After they turn 18, I believe, I stopped giving it to them and I started doing, different things. This past birthday, they turned 27, so I wrote them a letter and I gave them some scriptures and I asked them to reflect on their past and what they want to accomplish in the next 3 years before they turn 30. And I believe they're working on their goals and they're going to accomplish everything they want in life. So, that's my little tidbits as a mom of 27-year-old twins who damn near took me out in life. But from the grace of God, we all made it. There's nothing more, what am I could say, not hurtful, but it's nothing more, I don't even know the word for it. But when I was in that delivery room after having my seizure and falling out and having to have an emergency C-section, and them asking my mom, who do you want us to save? And she said, you save my baby, and when she wakes up, she can deal with the loss of her babies. But God is good in my life, and I am blessed and highly favored, and I know that's only because of the women who came before me and prayed for me. I remember when my grandmother came to visit us. I think I might have been about 7, and she gave us a scripture. And I still remember my scripture, Romans 5 and 6. And that has been a blessing to have that foundation of strong women. So if you want to raise productive children, be a strong woman and put your children first. If you out here dipping and doodadding, just know that when you become pregnant, and if you decide to keep that baby, your life needs to be dedicated to them. And I'm out here doing this because I care about our black family and the children that are coming after us. Because honestly, growing up, I didn't really have like no real role models. I had my mom, and she had her 3 good best friends, and the older women in the neighborhood, that's when that crack hit and stuff like that, and they really didn't take the time to show us the way. I didn't have no older sister. All I had was brothers. So, that made me tough and everything. But the soft side that I'm now kind of developed is because of my daughters. They go get pedicures. They get their nails done. They still getting their hair done. They don't wear makeup because I told them you don't need that. You are beautiful enough without it. And now at the age of 27, we got that beautiful skin. They got it from their mama. That's right. So, I guess that's it. But I want to let y'all know I'm always available. If y'all have questions or just want to talk about, life, anything. Like I said, sickle cell couldn't do it. Like, them babies couldn't do it. I'm here. I'm living. And right now, I'm living my best life. And that's what I hope for you. Love your babies. Stay present in their life. Do the best you can. But know even that is going to fall short because they have their own experience that they see what is important to them. Talk to them. Teach them the ways of the world because this motherfucker is wicked. And if you don't, somebody else will. And sometimes it don't turn out to be a good situation. So until the next one, Peace.